it boils down to you have to change people's perception. All of these things change people's perception of
Yeah.
what art could be.
Yeah. Our
And
paradigm
if you
shift.
change people's perception of what art can be and expand it a
Yeah.
little bit,
I think you've already done that,
but where
though.
people are like, nope, that was not art, and then they're like, okay, fine, the splattering on the fucking paint, that I guess is art. Yes, okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You have to paint paintings. You have to paint them realistic. Oh, okay, I guess you could paint them kind of sloppy, and like that would still be art. Yeah, okay. And
Yeah.
so all of these things expanded our idea of what art is. But you could be a very successful artist during these time periods, but you didn't actually expand art.
Yeah.
And
True.
so in that case, your art won't stand the test of time. It will just be like you met people where they are, and everybody was like, yeah, cool, this is good art for right now. I like it. But in the future, people are kind of like, well, that didn't really like move the needle. It was cool for then. It was art of its time, not ahead of its time. And so I think that's something I think a lot about.
Is that the pressure of success speaking through you, like putting it on you?
No, I think that's honestly like always been the case.
Oh, no, unbutton, dude. You know, it's actually funny. I know it's summer because every guest that I've had on so far, except maybe Casey, is like, all your guys' shirts are like all open and see your chest hair and your pubes and everything.
Not so much me. Look at this fucking full on. I'm with child.
Dude, you are with child food, baby.
No, it's hot as hell here. It's definitely like super, super. It's summer. It's summer.
Charleston has proper summers.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's like crazy monkey and like it's nasty. But we're at the like beach all day, and so that's the thing.
good.
I still like compared to Wisconsin. It's like I mean, in Charleston in the summer, it's super hot, and you just spit it outside by the pool or the beach. In Wisconsin, it's so cold in the winter, you literally would just die if you went outside. That's it. You just die. So,
Do you get a chance to go back home at all?
yeah, we were just back just last week actually.
Oh, nice.
We
Visiting
went back
family?
for the like 4th of July. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just family. So.
That's when you go like full patriotic, like, I'm a fucking American, baby. I'm going back to the source.
We didn't even see the fireworks that like rained or whatever, but
Oh, why?
yeah.
Too much
It
drugs?
just rained. I don't know.
It just rained?
Yeah. Just
Ah, dude.
canceled
That's a bummer.
fireworks and-
So no fireworks because of rain.
No, they just canceled it, but
Lame, dude. Yeah, we should have came down to San Diego. Fucking. Did you see the footage of Los Angeles? I think this year. Do you see that? It's pretty hilarious.
no, what happened?
I guess whoever's in charge of the city, which is probably nobody because it's fucking right into the ground. But anyways, they were like, you're not allowed to use fireworks. We're banning fireworks from LA. And then then look at the footage. I think it was this last year. It's just the whole city looks like Blade Runner. It's just explosions going off. Like in all the neighborhoods, every neighborhood's got fucking fireworks going off. Every city block has it.
Funny.
It is pretty fucking hilarious. Yeah. So if you like fireworks, LA would have been the place, I suppose, because they're like, oh yeah, we can't use this. No,
Fuck
yeah,
you.
we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
Americans not learned what Americans can't do to Americans?
It's not really our thing. It's not
Yeah.
our thing.
I just saw your everyday from yesterday.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, just for context, we're recording this bad boy. We're already opening it. We're recording this bad boy the day after Trump got shot here, and that was my mom texted me, and she's like, Trump got shot. And they were watching it live just because they're friggin' psychos watching a goddamn Trump rally. And
in full effect.
Yeah, and so it was just like, what the fuck? He like got shot. Yeah, it's just like it's insane. Like, and it made me realize, we're kind of like trying to explain to the kids that this is like a really, historic moment. And this is actually the first president. I think you're a year or two younger than me. This is the first assassination attempt in my lifetime because the
Yeah.
last one was Reagan. It was about 2 months before I was born.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
This
Reagan
is
was
like
a
literally the first sort of like thing like that. And like, yeah, it's
it's a
super.
testament to how polarizing he is, huh?
It is just crazy. Like to see how close this person was, though, to like freaking. I mean, I just saw a thing online that basically shows a diagram of like, here's the bullet going past your head like this, and then your head turns like literally if your head was turned like this much, it's like freaking blowing your brains out. And
Wow.
so it's
I mean,
just
it's a good
like,
thing, I guess, for him that he's so animatic.
I mean, it's just, yeah,
Wow.
absolutely bizarre. Did you watch much of the stuff or like?
You know me with news, I avoid it
I mean,
like the
you
plague.
did
So.
actually hear about this, I'm assuming.
Ironically, I heard it through my Canadian friend Zozan. He's like, "Your leader got shot." I'm like, "What?" And it was like a picture of a SWAT team on a roof. So I was like, I thought he was just joking with me. I was like, "Whatever." And then I saw your everyday.
That's
It was
funny.
so I was like, "Oh, I guess this is real." And then I looked into it, and because you did a parody of like this iconic photo now that will live in infamy of
That
him
photo
standing
is
up.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
as soon as like I saw that photo, it was just like, oh my, I mean everybody obviously. It's just absolutely nuts. Like you could not even like stage that with the flag in the background,
Yeah.
with composition. I mean, it's fucking
Yeah.
golden triangle shit. This thing is just like what?
Yeah.
Just
That person captured that lightning. Yeah.
absolute freaking yeah.
I'll tell you what, it makes me want to go back and live in Japan more than anything.
Didn't
I'm
they
out.
have the same thing?
Peace.
Didn't
Huh?
that happen over there like fairly recently? To be
Yeah,
honest,
actually, like they have a prime minister or some sort. I guess they have like a president. I'm not sure of the legal things, but that's true. They did have an assassination attempt recently.
I thought they
Yeah.
had one. Yeah, like not that long ago.
How unoriginal of Americans to just have the second one, So lame. Nah, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm to act like there's no politics there. The politics everywhere. You can't get away from it. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be really interesting. I'm imagining this is either going to, I would imagine this is going to ramp up his whole thing, but who knows?
The election's over 100%. Like there's no
Yeah.
chance. Like
Yeah.
Biden was in a very bad place before. Like
He was taking a nap.
he was not doing so hot. I mean, I'm not sure how much you're following, but like tons of people calling for him to like pull out of the race.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Damn.
yeah, after the debate, like it was.
I get most of my news from your everydays, to be honest.
Well, that's probably then you're probably like, what the fuck is going
I'm like,
on?
dude, what is Kanye is doing all kinds of shit. Why is there a Pokemon ball in this one? I don't understand what's going on.
No, he was not in a good place, and like that's the thing. Like polling wise, it's like a lot of people want him to drop out, but he actually polls better than any of the other Democrats, and so it's like.
Oh, because if that's it, then it's
Like if it's sort of like, well, he sort of ironically has maybe the best chance to win. But that was before this. Like, I mean, when Reagan got shot, his approval rating went up 22%. So it's
yeah.
like,
It's very American to survive a bullet.
it's yeah. There's
like the christening.
The election is absolutely over. Like there's.
I could see a lot of people thinking that this is manufactured. This whole thing is manufactured by him.
By who?
Trump. I could see
well, that is you took a hell of a chance with a bullet whizzing past your ear and then killing another person.
How far away was the shooter?
That is some balls to sort of
yeah.
Put it on the line like that. You really put that apple on top of your head and shot the arrow through it. The shooter was like super close. Like
he was close.
This is 1 day old news, but it looks like there was a fairly significant lapse with like Secret Service because like the person was
He was just chilling.
super close.
He was
Super
chilling. He was
close.
on TikTok, just eating some Taco Bell
Well,
on
and
the
apparently
roof.
there was like a bunch of people who, again, this is,
Oh
none
yeah,
of this
after.
confirmed, whatever, but like it seemed like a bunch of people saw him and like were like, there's a fucking guy up there with a gun and like, you know,
Fuck, people were saying that.
yeah, like
Oh
it really seems like really like fucked up and like,
wow.
I think again, this is just me completely speculating, but if I had to guess, there was some lapse in security, and then the other snipers on the roof saw this dude, and they were like, "Wait, who the fuck is that?" Nobody got that close with a gun because he was in like army fatigues, and so they're like looking at him like, "Okay, should we like?"
Is
They
that the,
hesitated to
is
like,
that one of us?
"Yeah, is that one of us?" And then so it's
Yeah.
like, they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Blah, 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 blah. And like, within before they could determine, like, wait a second, that's not somebody on our team he shot. Again,
Damn,
that's, what it
crazy.
seems like, but I don't
Oh man, more Trump. Oof, man, it's gonna be good for your art.
know.
I'm not super stoked on it. It's not gonna get good for my mental mind.
It's
Everybody complaining and
definitely,
bitching.
he's a character. He's a
Yeah, he's
character.
definitely a
I
character.
think what's crazy, and like the piece last night was called Bulletproof,
Yeah,
is because this dude, like, nothing can take him
it's pretty
down.
resilient. Yeah,
Like, so many things. Like, I remember when he first ran, fucking 8 years ago or whatever. And there was things where he said, it's like, I mean, so many things he said, it's like, oh, he's done. You can't say that. You can't
yeah.
say that. And then it's
Well,
like,
that's like some of the famous ones.
fine.
He's like grabbed her by the
Things,
pussy and all kinds of
so
crazy
many
stuff.
things. And it's
Yeah,
just like, oh, over, he's done. And then
yeah.
it's
He's
just
broken
like,
a lot of first rules.
oh, okay, wow, he survived that. And then, I mean, the amount of things he has survived is just
Mm,
insane. It is just
yeah.
absolutely insane. Like, this dude is just like cannot be destroyed. He
Hmm.
cannot be destroyed. Yeah.
It's really interesting. Yeah, our political system's interesting. I grew up in like, if the first president I really remember was like Clinton. Clinton was when I was quite young, but it was during the Gulf War, and he was playing saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show. And in your mind as an American, at that time, you have this idea of what a president is, a leader is, and that's always being shifted by the person that's present in the office, And I'm not really into politics, as you know, and I know little about it, but I just know it after the fact usually because I don't like current day noise as much as why we'll get into this when we talk about AI. That's a whole nother thing that's one of the goals of talking together today. But yeah, it's just weird. It's just so weird. And the shift that's happened, because I remember he was an eloquent speaker. He had a really beautiful, like, kind of grace that he would kind of lead the country through. And I feel like Trump couldn't be more different in a lot of ways. He's got his own thing, which is his own thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
but there's been a lot of presidents that have been very controversial in multiple spaces. But depends on what side of your thinking you are. You could have been on the losing side against Lincoln and thought he was the Antichrist, So, but now we revere him with hindsight. He was quite a special person. So, hey, it's all interesting. It's all relative, and it's very noisy. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is definitely noisy, and I think it's so tough now to know what to trust.
Damn,
And
the word trust.
I mean, I think it's just like the news. I think so many people have lost trust in, sort of the like mainstream media. Um, and I think online too, there's just, people will just post false things, just like,
Such a yeah.
and so it's like, and now with like AI too, it's just, I think it's, I don't know, it's so like, yeah, it's just very fucked up. And it's like, I just don't know where it goes from here. Like, I just don't know what future elections even like look like. Um, just because it's so hard for anybody to get quality information on like what's going on.
Yeah, that
But
would
I
be
think it's
really
also,
nice.
I think part of that though is that our tolerance for the speed of information and
Mm.
recognizing the quality of information. It's like, okay, well, if you want something like fucking immediately, probably gonna be like, I don't know, maybe that's not so like accurate. But
Mm.
just like you're saying, over time, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, but we're like, I need to fucking know right now. And it's like, well, if you need to know right now, then it's probably gonna be,
About 50% accurate.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened. You
And
know,
also most of things are opinion, you know? So like
well,
we'll talk about that with art. Art is unquantifiable. People say some art's bad and some art's art. They're neither right or neither wrong. It's unquantifiable,
100%. Yeah.
which is crazy too. So, and that's what makes politics so interesting. But I couldn't agree with you more. The more I see in the AI stuff with how close we are to it, and you're much closer than I am because I've kind of removed myself, is I feel that it is really going to be hard to pinpoint down what the fuck is going on in general globally, not just here in America, but just across the world. And we've relied so much on these technologies to be this kind of usher of truth and this device to kind of relay us. And if you don't have a bullshit meter and your bullshit meter is going to be superseded by technology, then wow. So maybe the value is in AI that actually is a truth sayer and says this response is this much accurate. Take from what you will. This is all the data I can gather. This is it. This is 50% accurate. So depends on where you sit, you know.
You know, I was thinking, something occurred to me the other day, and I can almost guarantee this will happen, and it's not really that far from being feasible. When you talk about like a truth sayer, so again, think if you had sort of like earbuds in, and it was or a pair of Meta Ray Bans or whatever, or some always on device
Nerd
always
alert.
listening. So you have these things on, and it was always listening.
Mm.
And as soon as somebody said something false, like they're just talking, they're like, "Oh, well, I
Shoot
heard
him in the side of the head.
No, it immediately was just like, "Yeah, that's not true."
Hmm.
And
And
like,
mumble him.
and so it's just like, no, it just said it was not true.
Hmm.
And so when people say things and it's wrong, because people in talking often say things that are just not true.
Yeah.
But you don't know right away, and they don't get called
Yeah.
out right away. So what if the AI was just like, yeah, bullshit, wrong. Like,
That'd be a lot of your day would be hearing because I mean
just
well,
like, but just think about it in like conversations with people, and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
saying things, and they're like, oh yeah, this happened, and blah blah blah, and I think da 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 da. It's like, wrong. This is
Yeah.
what actually happened. Like, nah.
You
And
remember
it's
growing up and having those friends who'd be like, fucking the moon is totally made of cheese and shit. And you're like, oh, wow, the fucking moon's made of cheese? Like, fuck, I like cheese, Like, I'm going to go to the moon. And then you realize, obviously, fucking Bobby or whatever his name was fucking lying to you.
well, what if Bobby was immediately called out and it's like,
That
no,
would be amazing.
wrong. Like, that's the thing, though. Like, that,
Yeah.
I believe,
Yeah.
and I don't think we're, like, that far away from that.
That'd be nice.
To have
That'd be nice.
something that's basically like an Alexa, and it's this, like, bullshit detector that just, like, immediately, like, yeah, so that's not really the case. Like, actually, oxygen, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
And
Well,
I
so much of what we
think
know
that-
is what we don't know, though. So, yeah.
That's the thing, though. But there's a lot of things where people just say shit, and it's kind of like, well, that's not true. Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot of like, yes, is there many things that are kind of more in the gray area or sort of XYZ, but there's
It'd be good if
also
it gave
lot
you a
of things-
percentage, though. It'd be cool
What's up?
if it gave you a percentage. It's like, this is about 70-30
Yeah,
from my gathered
or it could
information.
be- I mean, there's a lot of things though that are pretty like people will say shit that's just that's just factually like not true. You know what I mean? Like, and
Sure.
they think
Yeah.
that, and it's
Yeah.
like it's not gray. It's really like just provably like, well, that's not true. That's not what
Yeah.
happened. That's not how it works. That's not
Documented facts. Yeah.
yeah. And it like immediately was just like, let me stop you right there. And that's not true. Like, I think that will very fundamentally alter how humans, like if there was a mediator between, and you had one in your ear and the other person had one in their ear. And so everybody's got their fucking AI that's like, bullshit, bullshit. Like,
it'd be nice if it just muted their voice out. It just turned into fucking, dude, this fucking guy's bullshit. 50% of what I'm hearing is a moo boo 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 boo.
It's just like, you know.
That could help though, really. I think that'd be amazing.
It just occurred to me that I think will happen because it's like, okay, I don't know why you would, like, that seems like it would be quite useful. I mean, the reason I thought of it, we were just happened to be out at like a restaurant and like, you know, our stupid story, but our refrigerator went out and we're at a restaurant and the waiter was like, you know, you should go to Best Buy because all the Best Buys are going out of business. And I was like, are they? Best Buy going out of business?
Wrong.
And so I like immediately looked it up. It's like, I don't see any evidence that Best Buy is going bankrupt.
Yeah, I didn't see an every day from you.
And so it's like immediately, if it was like this thing just came up, it was like, that's not correct. The guy would be like, okay, sorry.
Oh, you know what would be really cool is if you could publicly spank him like you're his father too. Yeah, bare cheeks too. This is what you get for lying and spreading misinformation. But I wonder where he got it from. This whole the internet is so filled with so much disinformation. That's why you get the flat Earth and stuff.
See, now I've got to look that up. Now am I wrong? I don't think I am.
The Best Buys, maybe Best Buys next to his house is closing, and he's like, "Oh, they're all going out." Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, we all say stuff that we don't know. Why do we do that?
Stores this year or something, but it's not going out of business.
Yeah, Best Buy. I think I just saw one like with people going in and out of it. So I was like, "Oh, that's a thing." But I do most of my shopping online anyways. I'm one of those guys. Thankfully, I guess. But I was thinking, I was talking to my friend Casey on one of the episodes. I was saying one of the things I think would be an incredible device that's kind of aligned with what you just said. So not only do you have a truth sayer or something that actually tells you with percentiles as to what's factual truth, plausible, and documented. Because I know you can get abstract with theory, right? You can be like, well, you know, was Jesus Christ real? And like, well, you know, this is a gray zone. You know, we got a 50-50 going on here, but it's like, you know, is oxygen breathable? It's like, yeah, we know that we're breathing it, so it works for our system. So, but along with that is, so many times I've communicated with people, and I feel like you're so close to having this grace where people won't call you an asshole, and you can also get your point across. And it would be so amazing online or however you communicate that AI would basically take your comment or your thought and translate it so that it would be received to the other person correctly, so that your point was made. Instead of going, you fucking suck. It's like that person saying, I wish that I could be at your level, and it's frustrating that this feels this, and then you could go, oh, I have empathy. You know?
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, because it could really do that, where it's like literally you could just have like, okay, I want like you were saying, like an empathy filter.
Yeah.
And it's like it could just filter all of social media to be what people are actually thinking.
To your psychological
makeup. You could just turn that on and off, and it'd be like, oh wow, I turned the filter off. That they really like, whoa, they praised that a little
wow,
bit.
This feels like 2020 all over again.
This is fucking Call of Duty fucking 14-year-old boy shit. What the fuck is it? You know
it's
what I mean?
But, Central.
That's super interesting. That is like a fascinating idea. But like, yeah, that definitely seems possible too. That it's just like it just looks at the context of it and looks at it through a empathetic sort of like viewpoint and sort of like, okay, you know, this person is not feeling good about themselves right now.
Sure.
And they're saying this thing and like, you know, XYZ, and like, yeah, that's super interesting.
So their truth can land with you, and then you can take it. Because so much of the time, anytime you've had conflict or I've had conflict, the way I look at it is they're just a different version of myself, oftentimes a past version of myself, or a version that's unevolved or hasn't gotten there. And I can just see myself and struggle with it. And it's very frustrating because I'm like, hey, dipshit, like, you're just expressing this thing that I know you'll get through, but I thought that technology could potentially solve that because first to do that, I would imagine you'd have to do a pretty good deep and out like psychological analysis of yourself so that the thing would understand how much empathy you do desire and need as you communicate. So it would have to be almost like a legit test to basically, oh, this is how Ash communicates with the world at his optimal. Because when you get into the computer and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna start my day, and then somebody's like, and you're like, oh dude. And if you're like me, you fret on words, you fret on thoughts, you fret on people, you think, you think a lot. And that does a lot of harm mentally, potentially. So yeah, some sort of like thing. Could be interesting. Yeah. Are we predicting some fucking awesome technology right here? Did it start with us in our conversation?
No,
I'm hoping the tech dude bros are listening to this.
That's where I think there's so many like things with like AI that we've just, like I don't think people are they're taking what we have now and just like extrapolating out a more high-res version of this. Mm-hmm. Instead of thinking like, no, it will be new superpowers.
Yeah.
Because it will be, and when you say, well, it's not really intelligence, it's like, okay, sure. But it's really, really good pattern recognition.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of intelligence
really good pattern recognition, you can do a lot of fucking things that seem pretty intelligent. If you are insanely good at identifying patterns, then you can do a lot of fucking things. You can fool a lot of people into seeming pretty fucking smart.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the amount of like superpowers like that thing you just said, I can almost guarantee that will exist in the future. Like,
that'll be awesome. I'll love that. I will use that.
I don't think it would even be that hard. I think definitely you will have a sort of like life coach type thing, especially once you have glasses and it can see everything you're doing. Yeah. And so it could very much, you could be like, okay, I really want to lose weight. So if you see me go and reach for that fucking donut, like just give me some positive like reinforcement to just be like, you might still go eat the donut, but at least something gave you that backup of like, man, you don't want to do this. And it could fucking show you a picture of you all jacked or whatever and be like, dude, this is how you could look. Like, come on. Like, let's fucking like grab a fucking carrot. Like, it could really be the thing. But it could also
grab a carrot.
Be this like fucking drama thing that gets you all jacked up because some people, they don't want the good friend talking in their ear. They want the bad friend talking.
That's why you would need the psychological
what the fuck did he fucking just say to you? You're gonna fucking like let him say that shit to you? Like you gotta fucking put him on blast right now. Like it could be a fucking bad influence on you. So like that's the thing. Yeah. All of these things to me are just it's an amplification of humanity. It's like humanity like
magnified.
All the good things and all the bad things. Not just the bad things. There will be some good things, but there will definitely be some bad things.
Yeah. But there's already bad things. Yeah. I try to think about us like, I think Neil Tyson or somebody was saying something about, and Michio Kaku, I think, might have coined these things or something, but they talk about species that have broken thresholds. Certain species will break thresholds when they can absorb the power and the energy of the universe around them and they can transcend space and time. And I'm wondering, where are we at in that phase? Because we're very early. I mean, he even identifies like we're at the very baby, we're just cracking the egg to get out of the egg, basically, because we haven't really left Earth, and egg is a metaphor, So, but I'm thinking of all of this stuff, and I've heard people say that what they think this AI is, which, as you just mentioned, the term is it's not sentient yet as we know it, but it's pattern recognizing, and so are humans. So it's a through line potentially, and they're quite connected. But the thing I'm thinking with all of this stuff is that by us merging into this new technology and us merging voluntarily or involuntarily, we're eventually going to become some sort of superpower. Is a kind of interesting word that you put to it. It allows you to have that superpower, and it's and on a lot of spectrums, things we don't really understand and see. But I agree that movie Her, felt like was a very accurate science fiction film. Have you seen that?
Oh
Movie
yeah,
Her?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I feel like we're like, I don't even know, like
we're close to that. Feels like
6 months from that. Like like that doesn't feel like it's that far. I'm sure you've seen that like GPT-4o stuff. It's like
I
okay,
haven't seen it. Yeah, that's why I also want to talk to you because I'm so removed from it.
well,
It's so noisy.
they basically made a like model where you can have much more. It's much more conversational, and they actually used a voice that sounds a lot like her voice to the point where then Scarlett Johansson was like, "Guys, wait, what the fuck?" Like, yeah, and they were like, "Oh,
They just trained it on
yeah,
her voice.
sorry, I don't was." Yeah, I guess it does
Wait.
kind of sound like you. Like,
Oh, there's a movie called Her.
wait, who?
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
No, but it's and this was they showed this and they said it was a few weeks out. I think
Wow.
now maybe in the fall, but it is yeah. You look up some Chat GPT-4 demos. It is fucking insane. Because I think what to me like it literally made me kind of like sick to my stomach in a way.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
I was like, why is that? And I realized it was the first time with a voice that you had an uncanny valley.
Oh no.
Because when you talk to Alexa or Siri, there's no to me there's no uncanny valley. It's like, hello Michael, I'm going to you want to die. It doesn't sound anything like a person.
Same as Siri.
Not
Yeah.
anyway.
It's the cadence, the
like,
flow. Yeah.
It doesn't you know,
It's nice that has that though, because you can separate it. Yeah.
it doesn't sound very clearly you are talking to a robot. This does not feel like that.
Oh
It
no.
literally answers so fast.
Yeah.
It uses ums and ahs. It has a much wider range of tone and expression and
Wow.
presence and like it's just yeah, it was just like holy fuck, like insane. Just like yeah.
This is the GPT-4 voice demos.
It's GPT-4o
Do I
voice.
put in Scarlett Johansson as well in there?
You can put that. Well, you can see all the like kind of drama around that too. But, yeah, it's not. That first
it
stuff
felt
is
real.
not
It sounded
far
real.
off. Sounded very real. It very much sounded like you were talking like this sounds like and feels like you are talking to a person.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Because the other thing is, I don't know how much you use with like ChatGPT, the like voice thing.
Use it.
But
I don't
now,
use it, yeah.
the voice thing, you basically like, you know, it listens and then it like and sends it to the thing and then it responds. And then it's in listening and when it's talking, it's not listening to you at all. And like
It's
when
like talking to a really old person then.
yeah, when it's got a very clear listening mode, talking mode. Sends it to the server, talking mode, then it stops talking, and then it's in listening mode. This is not that. This is always listening. You could just be like, and interrupt it, and it will just like, you know, kind of stop what it's talking about, and then like listen to you. Like there's no, it's just like instant back and forth. There's no like call and response. It's just like a conversation like this.
Wow.
And so it's like, the latency of its response is a big part of like it feeling like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like it immediately responds. Like when we're talking here, it's not like beep, and then you
So
respond.
more natural then.
You just respond instantly, even if your response is just like, like you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, you know, we're kind of like continually sort of, you know, kind of a little bit cutting each other off. You know what I mean? Like there's a flow to it where we're kind of like that. It's like that.
Wow. Okay.
It's insane.
Well, the beauty of Her for me when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. This is a real pretty accurate version of what technology will eventually be, which is using this superpower to help us overcome these human suffering elements of life, which is heartbreak or feeling alone or these common pitfalls of the human experience. But then in my mind, I think, and this is me playing devil's advocate always, is that important to the human psyche to have those pitfalls? Or is that just what I've been programmed and told, that that you need pitfalls and struggles to actually understand the other side of things. It's so much of it is me trying to unravel my traditional older brain's pattern, and then trying to distill it down and go, is this truly the truth, or is this just what I've been told the truth, or is this what I lie to myself and tell myself the truth? Because the future is so unknown and it's so perplexing. But that technology sounds fantastic, and I'm excited for it, because I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that would love to have a mentor that's all knowing in a really powerful way that to kind of help you. Like, you know, I mean, I read books from people and I'm like, oh, this is fucking badass. Like, this feels good. You know?
I think it will. I think it really will. Like, I don't know, I think we're very close to it being quite a, you know, quite personalized like that. I think that's the other thing that it currently doesn't quite have.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to sort of like keep little, like, you know, I don't know if you've noticed that it does this memory update thing, and then it will sort of like, you know, it's starting to keep information on you and sort of like build a like profile of you.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I think just in like, I don't even know, 6 months, a year, I think this could be like really, I think there's a few sort of like step change things that I think people are not kind of recognizing, in my opinion, are much closer on the horizon than they think.
What are those things you think?
I think one of the biggest things is letting it just literally use your computer. I think right now it's sort of like, if you have something you want to do on the computer, like now I usually go to ChatGPT first versus going to, like, if I have a question about After Effects, I don't go to After Effects website anymore. I literally go to ChatGPT and ask that.
Yeah, it's definitely the new internet. Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, I would say I use this. I would say I use it, you know, 75%, and Google now 25%.
Wow. When did that shift happen for you?
I would say over the last, it's happening more and more as I think of more sort of like capabilities for it, and sort of like more things where I'm like, oh, I wonder if it could do this. And then
it does it, right?
And then it does it, and then it's like, oh,
fuck, Google doesn't do shit.
Yeah, and so, yeah, it's been happening, you know, kind of more and more over the last, I would say definitely 6 months for sure, that it's really kind of like ramped up of like, oh, it's getting pretty capable. I mean, I think with it being able to search things on the internet now in a way that it couldn't before, I think that makes it more capable. But I think, again, if it could just, like, because you sort of like ask it, oh, how do you do this in After Effects? Well, what if it could just control the mouse? Because it clearly knows how to do it. Just control the mouse and just do the thing. And so it's like, instead of it being like, okay, you got to build an API for every single program that uses it, it's like, just
let it control your computer.
The computer.
Wow.
And so
I didn't think about that.
If it could instead, like, you were sort of like, okay, you know, I want you to take this file and, you know, cut it up in Reaper and then take it into fucking After Effects and like add some historical footage on it, go to the internet, start downloading historical footage from like fucking YouTube, save those to a directory, take that, put it into After Effects, chop those up, put some like glitch effects on top of it, export that as an MP4, send that to the, you know what I mean? Like each one of those things individually, it'd be like, okay, yeah, no problem, I got that. And then you just tell it all the things you want to do, and then it's like, oh, well, okay. And then you just burp,
go take a nap.
And then you go take a nap, and it's like, oh, shit, all that shit's done. And so it's like, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's that far off.
I guess that makes sense, because if it's pattern recognition, it'll know the UI of the app, and then it'll
Dude, it can just ingest literally every After Effects fucking. It already knows all of this shit. You ask it, and it's like, how do I do this insanely specific thing in Windows? How do I fucking blah 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 any of this shit?
I hate using the computer like a caveman. I really hate having to Google the thing, find the article of truth, extract the truth, then use it and then hopefully it works, and then it doesn't. Yeah, this is nice.
Dude, and it can just be
That
like,
sounds good.
especially if you're just watching over its shoulder as it's fucking doing all this shit real quick, and it's like, no, not quite like that, or like, nah, I don't think that's working. Try another thing. It's like, no, I
That
think
makes
you
me
need
think
like
like you have
different
another
drivers or
human.
whatever.
So I'm working on a project right now, and you know, one of my favorite things to do, and I know it's the same for you, is I like collaborating. I like working with friends and creative people, and I love that creative feedback. Is that solely a human aspect, or you think that that will completely remove the human from the situation, the other human?
No, I don't think
Mm.
it will. I think if you like collaborating with people,
Yeah,
I think it will be like you, the other person, and a fucking AI,
yeah.
or you and an AI, and the other person and an AI, and
Mm.
you're like, hey, what if we do this? And you tell your AI to build blah 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 blah, exactly what you want,
Mm.
and it does exactly what the fuck you want. And then the other person's AI does exactly what I want. And then you could also be like, okay, you guys AIs talk to each other and like figure this thing out. And when we wake up in the morning, we'll like review the shit you did. This is you tell your AI, this is the things I want. I
Yeah.
want it to look like this. I want it to be like this. This is my ideas, right? Make up some storyboards, make up some like a pitch deck for this. He tells his AI blah blah blah. They show each other the shit. Like, I mean, I think the other thing is, I think there will be more and more that people's AI, like, I think your AI will be more like an agent, for one thing. I think that's kind of the next phase of this. It's not a chat bot, it's more like an agent. It's actually, it knows you, it knows all the things that you're doing. You just let it listen to much more of your sort of like life. And so it like, and also I think the other big thing is right now the tasks are super singular. It's like do this and give me the results
Yeah,
immediately.
it's very
What if you
slow.
were just like, well, I don't really need the results immediately, but by tomorrow morning, could you do XYZ?
Hmm.
You know
Yeah,
what I
like you
mean?
would a human. Yeah.
Yeah, like a human. And so it's like, and it's kind of, um, yeah, if it had longer term tasks that were bigger and more complicated, where you're like, okay, I want a deck with these kind of like references, like this is what I'm thinking, and like this is the problem, and like this is the kind of text, this is the client, these are the sort of this is the kind of fill, and it knows you like a motherfucker. It's seen
Hmm.
everything you've ever done. It knows all the fucking things you're interested in. It's like, fuck yeah, it is dialed into you.
Hmm.
And like, and so it's sort of like, okay, like, and it's suggesting shit. Okay, well, what if we had it, moody like this, or like, what if we use this fucking lens and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, fuck yeah, that's a fucking great idea. Okay, let's do that. And so
Okay.
I think, yeah, I just think,
That's an agent. I didn't think about that, or using your computer. I think that's also really interesting too. I guess that makes sense too. I feel like there's going to be a big divide between people that obviously have the technology, the resources to own the technology, and then to utilize the technology. But one thing that you mentioned in there is, what will it matter at that point?
what will what matter?
So you've sent you and Bradley, we were in a chat. I think I can't remember if it was Bradley or you, but you send like a video, a car commercial, a Volvo commercial that was done
Yeah.
in 24 hours by somebody on the internet. I can't find. I don't know what their author is, and I guess that's also the point of this. When we were starting out, you knew the fucking person that was making it because that was the person or the studio. Oh, that was Prologue or that was Psyop or whatever.
Sure.
And that's different now because, like I just said, that thing you showed me, I was like, "What the fuck? This is crazy." And then we were discussing, like, in my mind, I'm thinking none of that stuff should have ever mattered, anyways. I guess because, like, to point out to the fact is like one of the most successful car manufacturers in the world as of now is Tesla, and I've never seen them ever make one commercial. So, if commercials is there even a value there? And what you said there too is like you have to make a deck and a pitch. Well, is pitching even going to be a thing? Should it even be a thing? It should never have been a thing, in my opinion, but I can see why it existed. But I don't know, I'm just like going really far into it and asking, if we go to this thing, we're using the tool to do what? Dig the hole? Or is the hole already there?
No.
Or does it
so
matter that there's a hole?
I look at like let's take the Volvo commercial thing. Here's how I see that. That's the baseline now. Like that's square one. That's
Yeah.
that's literally the deck. Versus
Uh,
before that was the finished thing.
yeah.
Like you look at like what people put into decks now, and it's like that 20 years ago, that would be like, well, this is the whole campaign.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And now it's just like, oh, this is just something we threw together in a fucking weekend, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, because
So
okay.
that Volvo commercial is the DAC. The commercial is not that commercial. The commercial, to me, how commercials will evolve is the commercial will be 100% tailored to you. It will be like you will see yourself driving in the Volvo because it will have pictures of you. It will know exactly what you look like, and it will be like driving through your favorite city, and it will be your kids, and you look around and your kids are in the back seat, and it's 100%. It was a commercial made literally for you. And you are the only person who sees that commercial. And things like that were not possible before. How could we make
Where'd you get to that thought? 'Cause that's a
commercials
cool
for every
thought.
single person? It is a generative commercial for you. And so this is just a continuation of when you turned on the nightly news in 1972, you saw whatever. I don't know who the fuck's watching this. We think it's males age 18 to blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's some items that maybe you want to buy, maybe you have no fucking interest in. And then with technology, we got more and more like, okay, well, now I'm going to throw a little cookie in your computer and kind of track you a little bit. And here's what I think you like. And ads have gotten more personalized. They'll literally just become generative to like the ad is 100% for you.
Interesting. Huh.
And so, like, the
makes sense.
pitch deck, that pitch deck you see now, which looks like a finished car commercial, is the thing. Like, this is the emotions we're going to convey in the generative ad that we are going to make for Ash. So, higher level than all of this.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
I think people are looking. There's two ways of looking at AI. Again, if you look at AI as a way for humans to do less, then you're going to be like, oh my god, I'm so scared of this. Blah, 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 blah. If you look at AI as a way for humans to do more, that thing I just said now, this generative commercial, that's not possible now. That's would be how are you going to make a new video commercial for each individual person? Can't be done. So that's the more thing that this technology is going to allow us to do. It's not going to put that person out of a job. Somebody still needs to like sell the fucking car. But
Do
like
they?
how they do it, I mean, maybe in the future. I mean, who the fuck knows? I mean, I also think this could really sort of,
Gonna
then you get
topple.
UBI and shit like that, and I could see that being very possible too. But I think it's I think high level, it's just going to allow people to do more things. And
I mean, we're doing more things than ever, I would imagine, too, cerebrally. But the byproduct of that, it seems like people's heads, myself included, potentially, have become much more noisy. But I feel like we've identified a lot of things too, cerebrally. People will go, "Oh, what's anxiety? Oh, I think I have anxiety." Well, you're misdiagnosing yourself, but you might be somewhat anxious, but you might be suffering from this thing or this ailment. That's why I'm really excited about this kind of her concept, which like it understands you. You can wear wearable technology that actually works and can feel you and understand like your blood pressure is really low or your sodium level is low or you have heart condition or you have this thing or you have gout or whatever it is. These are all part of your biometrics on a daily basis, and it's basically helping you live a better life. Because I do it now.
I think that could do it.
I can't wait. I'm excited for that. And a real time psychiatrist that you can talk to get your exercise, your thoughts out, or one that could just help you and make you a better disciplined human being, or somebody that's worthy of somebody's time. Because there's a lot of people out there that I think are just like, they're so close to being an incredible person, but they just haven't had the hug or the person or the father or the daughter or the mom to just say, hey, you're okay. I'd say what makes us who we are is because we were raised with love. I think that's why we've been able to be successful in life. And if you don't
Yeah.
have that, that's really tough, dude. But if you have a thing that's there to love you, and it doesn't matter if it's not real or not, but it loves you, that could really help. It could help a lot. I think it could help a lot of people, which would be great.
I definitely think it can, and I think that to me goes back to the concept of more. You were sort of like,
that's
oh,
a
I've
more
already
thing.
got this like watch thing, and it kind of does some things, but what if it could do more things, and I could like
I
dial
like that,
things
Mike.
in better? And I think it really like will allow you to do that, and I think it will. I think it will allow a lot of people to be more authentic versions of themselves.
That'd be
But
beautiful.
that's both good and bad.
Sure.
Like that's
Of
not
course.
just good, not like, oh, everybody's,
No, because not
like,
everybody's great to you,
and
but they're
I
great
think
to
it's
them.
going to like be like just amplify because it's like again, if we all sort of have superpowers, it doesn't mean the world's going to be super good. It
No.
just means it's going to be an amplified version of, what it is. And I think this is again just a continuation because now you have, um, sort of technology has like, a person in their bedroom with a computer can literally do things that could change the entire world. Well, that wasn't the case.
You talking about Elon? Just kidding.
That wasn't the case.
He doesn't need a computer. He just
sort of-
needs his phone and his social media.
that wasn't the case many sort of like years ago. And
Yeah.
I think
That
it's
changed. So what? 10 years ago? You think? About a decade ago? Because we're on this basically. We're going vertical right now. We were building the rocket ship, and I feel like we're going vertical, and we're launching, baby. Yeah, we're going up there.
it's going pretty fast.
It's way faster than I thought it would be too.
Way faster than I thought it would too. And like that's the thing too, is like I'm continually still shocked by like AI. And I think it's like I mean when I still remember I'm talking about it now like this was like back in my day, we had this Sora thing.
Last week.
That was like when Sora debuted, which I just looked it up, was I believe March of this year.
Yeah.
It was just like, what the fuck? Like, oh, this is a few years away. Like this is like massively like this must take forever to generate these things and like it
It does take time. They do sell it like it doesn't.
It doesn't take that much time. And
Not
so
as much
then-
as the human to do it. Yeah, it's
and
true.
so then it was like,
Potentially.
I thought that was like, they were way ahead. And then within the last month now, it's like Kling, Luma Labs, Runway Gen 3, like all these things came out and it's like, oh yeah, those are pretty much the same as Sora. And they're like literally available right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that was actually only like,
2 weeks ago?
3 months off, 4 months out. The thing that in my mind seemed like it was like a couple years away.
Yeah, that's. I think that's one thing. I don't know if you noticed that too. Is when this step happens, everybody wants to try and cling to the. I think we're 2 years away from this thing happening. It's like, first off, we don't know shit. As a consumer, we know very little, and to predict it is kind of a silly act, but it's a fun act, I think when we grew up, we would watch the Jetsons or Star Wars, all these kind of things, and we would think of science fiction or the future as to be this thing. But I do remember, like, when I watched her, I was like, that's a pretty plausible future. I think at our age, we're going to see that. But I don't know but I think fuck it. If it happens before I'm 50, that'd be amazing. Because, like, I'm 41, I would love
50 her?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's like 1 year away. Like
That's amazing.
Watch those GTP4 things.
Yeah.
They're pretty fucking close to that. They're pretty fucking close to that. We might be like 3 weeks away from that.
Well, this is what we do, though. We hypothesize what's going to happen. But I love your take on that. It's really holistic.
How old are you? 42?
41.
41. 9 years from now, dude, I have no idea what the fuck the world is going to look like.
It's going to be one big inverted butthole. That's what's going to be.
Fucking pocket her thing in your fucking thing. Oh my god, yeah, no, you'll have that guy. You'll have that.
Well, I have the fucking flying car. That's really what I want. Yeah.
I don't know if you'll have the flying car, but you will definitely have the little fucking talky girlfriend in your pocket.
Talkie girlfriend.
Far off.
That's gonna be her name, by the way. Yeah. When the wives are bothering us, that's it. I'm going to Talkie girlfriend's house. It's your other bedroom.
It's funny because when did Her come out?
Hers been out for a while. Let me look up the date.
I watched. Do you remember the film Artificial Intelligence AI by
Steven
Stanley?
Spielberg?
It was kind of
Stanley was supposed to do it,
Kubrick.
but then Steven did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched. I was on
It's not a good movie.
downloaded it and started watching it again, and it is. I couldn't even watch it.
No, it's unwatchable.
So stupid.
Yeah, it's super dumb.
It's just like the way they thought AI was going to be. Like, hello, mother. It's just like, yeah, this is so dumb. Like, this is like fucking George Jetson fucking like.
Well, you have to
so
usher
stupid.
the general public slowly into change. This is why this thing is basically at our doorstep saying change us now. You either accept it or we don't even care. It's happening. And that's what's so off-putting by it. The movie Her was made and released in 2013. So we're over a decade away from that. And it's potentially going to happen within the decade. So, or just past the decade, which is super impressive. There's certain, as you said, I think that things are going to be amplified. I couldn't agree with that more. I really hope it helps us understand these kind of intrinsic things where, and I don't know, I mean, how old are you now?
43.
Have you had a midlife crisis? Have you had this thing where you look back and go, I'm going to fucking die, and go start to really think about it and go, you haven't had it yet? Well, you also became a multimillionaire at fucking 40, son of a bitch.
No, I was.
I sleep in my fucking money.
No, I mean, I do.
You don't think about death?
No, I think about it a lot, and I think about probably too much how my work will be perceived after I'm dead.
Oh, you think about that a lot? Why do you think about that?
Because that's how far term I'm thinking.
Oh,
I'm literally
can't control that shit.
Like, no, you
So
can't.
stop thinking about it.
You can't control it,
Dude,
but
I'm being a good talky girlfriend to you right now. You want me to change my voice?
no, I honestly do spend I would say an inordinate amount of time thinking, how will my work be perceived and how can I make it interesting and strong enough to hold up over a very long period of time.
You have the unfortunate pleasure of being a successful artist in its life, because most artists are not. Most are not. They never see the value of their work become what it is, matured through time. Most.
Well,
when you live in.
I mean, that's the thing. It's yes and no, because again, it's just because you have a success during your life does not mean your ideas will stand the test of time.
That's true.
There's many artists who were like successful during their life, and then it's like, oh yeah, that wasn't actually that.
No,
like,
what I mean is history has taken on their success and compounded it through history, through art history and stuff. That's what I mean by that. But that's true. Yeah.
But some, it's like
a very small amount.
That was interesting during their lifetime, but like it wasn't so interesting and so new that it sort of transcended like a long period of time. You know what I mean?
Can
like,
you recall something
like,
in history that was like, fuck, that was the banger. That thing was the paradigm shift. Can you think about, is there something that comes to you that an artist or a thing that they did and made that was a paradigm shift?
Oh, many of them. I think.
Which one?
I mean, I think Picasso with Cubism. I think Monet with Impressionism. I think Pollock with abstraction. I think Warhol with, you know, sort of like pop and the topics he was thinking about. I mean, all these things.
You become quite educated on the art world too, huh? Since we last spoke, you had to. You're like, ah, fuck, give me the cliff notes. Come on, GPT.
I definitely learned quite a bit.
Because when we first would talk about it, you're like, I don't know fucking shit about this. And I'm like, that's also beautiful.
No, yeah, 100%. I did not know anything, and not that I'm like, by any means remote remote sort of like expert on any of these, sort of
Yeah.
things. But
It's your world now, though.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's very interesting to me, and I'm trying to learn, and I do really enjoy learning about this stuff because I think it boils down to you have to change people's perception. All of
Mhm.
these things change people's perception of
Yeah.
what art could be.
Yeah. Our
And
paradigm
if you
shift.
change people's perception of what art can be and expand it a
Yeah.
little bit,
I think you've already done
to
that,
where
though.
people are like, nope, that was not art, and then they're like, okay, fine, the splattering on the fucking paint, that I guess is art. Yes, okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You have to paint paintings. You have to paint them realistic. Okay, I guess you could paint them kind of sloppy, and like that would still be art. Yeah, okay. And
Yeah.
so all of these things expanded our idea of what art is. But you could be a very successful artist during these time periods,
Mm.
but you didn't actually expand art.
Yeah.
And
True.
so in that case, your art won't stand the test of time. It will
Mm.
just be like you met people where they are, and
Mm.
everybody was like, yeah, cool, this is good art for right now. I like
Mm.
it. But in the future, people are kind of like, well, that didn't really like move the needle. It was
Mm.
cool for then. It was art of its time, not
Mm.
ahead of its time.
Mm.
And so I
Hmm.
think that's something I think a lot about.
Is that the pressure of success speaking through you, like putting it on you?
No, I think that's honestly like always been the case.
Hmm. You've always felt like this?
Um,
This is a new thing, feels like.
no, I
No?
don't think it is actually
No?
no, because I was always trying to do,
Hmm.
I was always, even before all the like NFT stuff, I was always trying to do something that I'd never seen before.
Hmm.
I'm trying to like, even, I mean, 20 years ago too. I remember when I was doing this like, abstract sort of like music video stuff. It was
Hmm.
like, I looked up, has anybody done this before?
Hmm.
And at
Okay.
that time, I thought like,
Hmm.
oh well, no, nobody's done this before. Like this is fucking groundbreaking. Everybody's gonna find.
Everybody's gonna want
Nobody gave
daddy.
it here.
Daddy's
Nobody.
here. Our daddy's here. And then you see the comment. The comment says, "You suck." Yeah, fuck, man. I need this
Oh,
song.
this was pre-YouTube. There was no fucking comments. Like this
And all the
is,
comments were on Vimeo. They were nice too.
so yeah. And so yeah, I don't really think this is necessarily something new. I think it's been
Hmm.
amplified, I'll say.
Sure. Well, you have more resources and means to take your ideas and act upon them, which is great too. Right? Because you're able to go like, I have idea, I have resources to. Because now you're going to have your life is going to be endlessly challenging, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good and bad. I mean, it's obviously, boo-hoo, I've got, bunch of money, whatever. But I think it
Yeah.
also makes it like I really think boundaries and having more, and of course I still have boundaries, of course, but
Hmm.
like
What's
I
important?
think constraints like really to me, I think I think allow you to sometimes get to the heart of the like new idea.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
don't think like having money, that doesn't make your art better in any way. Like it doesn't like in any
Hmm.
way sort of like make the art a stronger idea. And
Hmm.
so
So art is a culmination of ideas.
yeah, I mean it's not it's art to me, good art. And that's another saying I have. Here's a copyrighted saying. Here's a copyrighted
Let's hear
people.
it. Let's hear it, baby.
Good art,
Okay.
I think, is art that affects something in you.
Hmm.
Great art is something that affects something in everybody.
Hmm.
And so I think
Let's elaborate on that. I'm gonna write that down.
I think
Good art in you, the creator, or
no, I
the
think
one
it's like
observer.
something. I think something is good art if it changes your perception of what art can be.
Hmm.
So it's more on a personal level. Then
Hmm.
it's something that's like good. I think great art is something that universally changes everybody's
Yeah,
idea of what art could be.
that's a big one, dude. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's why I copyrighted it.
Negative. I'm gonna cut that out of this podcast.
Yeah,
It's
put it on
mine,
there.
baby.
Son
I'm
of
gonna
a
tweet
bitch.
it right after this
You fucking
discussion.
said, son of a bitch. He, no, but
Uh,
I think again, like money. How much should it cost to
to have
paint a
that thought,
food can? How much should it cost to splatter paint on the ground? Like it costs no more than
the
any
cost
of
of
those
paint.
things.
Yeah.
It's the cost of paint, and it's like
Well, time is money equates time availability usually for me. It's time energy basically. So if you have time energy, then you have a bound to basically do as you like, think upon your life and reflect, and then have the privilege of these likes. I mean, of these thoughts, you know, the because if you're like grinding and working all the jobs, I mean, you don't have the fucking time. You just don't have the time.
100%.
Yeah.
I think
There's a little bit of that.
I think there's a threshold though where
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I think if you're, you know, living in the United States and you have, I don't know what the number is, but there's a threshold where it's like, well, you've got, a decent amount of time to sort of
If
fuck
you own a
around.
Nintendo Switch, you should be fine with finding ways of making art. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
that is actually that I like that. That's really good. That's really good. If you have a PS5, I don't.
Yeah, you should be able to change
You
the
have
world with
plenty
your
of time to
ideas.
make art. If you
Yeah.
have a PS5, you have plenty of time to make art.
Yeah.
That's actually a fucking great. I feel like you need to copyright that. Copyright that bad boy.
The whole conversation is copyrighted. Copywritten. Please get at us in Twitter.
No, that is a great little saying. That's very interesting.
Well,
I think
that's a time suck device, you know. So yeah, I could say if you have a phone,
I think it's,
everybody
I think
has
it's,
phones.
yeah, if that's people, like, if that's what they're into, like, I think it's fine. But
Oh yeah,
it's,
of course.
but you can't say, like, I didn't have time because it's like, well, you could have just not played the PS5.
Well,
We're
bro,
being honest. You
dude.
you didn't have to play the PS5.
How dare you say such a crazy thing like that?
But I think, I think it's,
Ideas, though. I mean, this is big. Let's dig into this, Mike, because let's think about like Disney comes to mind. Walt Disney, an idea man, an idea world making man. I think of like the fictional character Willy Wonka. These are idea people. You might say, oh, on the surface, Mike makes art. On the surface, Walt Disney makes what would he call that? What do you call those things? Disneyland, but it's like what the fuck is the term for that?
I don't know.
No, it's like the theme park. Sorry, yeah, theme park. Or Willy Wonka makes chocolate bars. But no, actually, let's distill that down further. Monet makes impressionist paintings. No, is he an idea person? And is that true though? I mean, I guess I'm trying to distill it down. I'm trying to think of these people that have been iconic or built things that have this lasting power, and I guess that's what it is. They're creatures of ideas, I suppose.
Well, I think some of these, I think that's where I think the idea for us, or let's say this, the threshold for what it takes to change the world through art monetarily, I think, is pretty low. The threshold for what it takes to change our idea of a car is pretty high.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like our idea to think of what could a media empire be is pretty high. You need a couple bucks. And so I don't
So ideas.
I think again the things that that change the art world, I just don't think they cost money to make. They just have to be, like you said, that lightning in a bottle, new fucking idea that was like really sort of like, oh yeah, that's never thought of like doing that, and changes people's sort of like perception of, you know, what art can be, what art can say. And that's really fucking hard to do. Really, really fucking
Interesting, good enigma for you to live with, kind of like a monkey on your shoulder. I think I can't remember if it was Steve Jobs that said it or what, but you said that I don't know if this is the whole thing with Apple, but they said we want to make the thing, and again I'm paraphrasing, but they wanted to make the thing that you never knew you needed or never knew you wanted but you always needed, or something like that. And
yeah,
it's the same thing. What you're after here is like, I guess that's, I if I'm to dig deeper spiritually about that, I think it's like you have to intrinsically know what it is like you to function as a human, to understand the fabric and inner workings of what makes something valuable to you. And most likely, if you can pinpoint that by going through that journey within, you can identify it and then expand upon it to everybody else and show them, oh, this is what it is. This is the universal truth within myself that is within yourself as well. If that makes sense. I mean, because most of the time we're just searching. A lot of times we're just familiar to one another. We just want to use these things as differences to like differentiate. But the most of the time, like I said, once we use this AI to potentially show us that like we're actually really similar. Like I have these conversations with people that I love, that I know that are Trump supporters and they're also Biden supporters or whatever. When I hear them, I think to myself, you're saying the same thing. You're just slightly different. And you're identifying something slightly different, but you're really quite similar. But I think if you had this technology that could help you see that you're not that different, you can actually understand that. And that's a universal idea, I think, is like finding a way, seeing all this stuff that's happening and going, well, this creates inner turmoil and turmoil noise, and how can you extrapolate? And we're in this really interesting phase where I think technology, as being digital artists, we've talked about this, is like, I don't think ever in humanity has technology has such an intimate play and role into art. And then you have the money side of it. And now we have AI. We're at this precipice where there's all these things. So ideas can be can be abundant if you want. You have the means to do it because the workforce, or the using AI to basically become hundreds and thousands of a squadron of human beings is possible to do without doing that. And then you have the potential means by using different forms of currency to extrapolate too. If you're brilliant enough to see it. But I like that you're more positive on this stuff, because I tend to not be. A lot of times I get very insecure and scared, probably like most people listening to this, when it comes to the AI stuff. Yeah, this is unethical. They're ripping off this thing, and I totally agree with that. But then I'm just one voice, and I'm not sure if this voice is even worthy of speaking to. Have you thought about that, the whole ethical side? I'm sure you have at great length, being a digital artist, being an artist of value. How do you deal with all that?
So
big tangent right there.
No, so I think I went on another podcast and I
what? Who said you could do that?
Candidly about this, and then I saw a bunch of the comments and people did not want to hear that shit. But I'm gonna say it anyway.
Say whatever you want. It's fucking
so, and I fully get I'm not the fucking person to be saying this, as somebody who hit the fucking jackpot. Like, people don't want to hear this shit from me. I recognize that. And I recognize like that this is a really scary time to be a sort of like artists, because these tools are legitimately, I believe, will put a lot of people out of work, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And I think that the roles will change. And I'm fully cognizant of that. But here's a little bit how I look at it in terms of the sort of like ethical piece of it. This genie is out of the bottle. It's not going back in. And I'm sure you've seen, sort of like things where it's like, oh, well, look at this. It copied Dune, or it copied Spider-Man, or it copied Avengers. And it's like, okay, but you don't own Avengers. You don't own Spider-Man. You don't own Dune. A big corporation owns that. And so why are you so worried about this big fucking corporation? Because this is actually a tool that has been trained on a bunch of shit that you don't own that you can now use to make yourself more powerful against that big corporation. Because guess what? Sony's going to use it to train it on their shit that they own to fire you. They're definitely going to do that. Like, Disney is going to train it on all their Pixar shit to fire you. They're definitely going to do that. So you being like, well, there's a Monsters 2, character in this thing, and like, look, they ripped off Disney. Guy, you don't own Disney. You're not Disney. So what are you like shilling for these like, or like there was a big thing recently with like the record labels. The record labels are suing these AI companies. Oh, and it's like, wait, now we're all on the side of the record labels? Wait, when did that happen? Like, wait, now, like, if you're sort of looking at this as like, oh, it's unethical to use because you don't own that data. Well, guess who does own the data? Giant corporations.
Which is
so
faceless.
should they be the only people who get to use AI? I don't think that's how it should be. And so it's sort of like, this is a tool that could give individual creators even more fucking power. Just like YouTube was a tool to sort of give the kid sitting in his bedroom the power to become fucking Mr. Beast and reach hundreds of millions of people.
You said
he didn't
was.
have to go through. He didn't have to go through a fucking like company.
Yeah.
He didn't have to fucking suck Harvey Weinstein's dick or some shit. Like, he fucking just did it himself because of this technology.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of these things where it's like these tools are like empowering to people. And so I think it's hard to see that if you're looking at it from like, that you got laid off from a job or whatever, that, people are sort of like downsizing.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen regardless. Like, those roles are going to change. And I think it's going to take a second for people to, like, you look at the Lexus commercial and it's sort of like, well, the commercial's finished. What else more is there to do? And the more to do is more. Nobody's going to be impressed by that. Because again, people aren't impressed by like easy shit. Just like when you go on and you see some like a Mid-Journey photo, are you impressed by that?
No, not at all.
You're not impressed by it at all. Yeah. Like, that's like nothing to you. It's not like if you see some thing that was clearly generated in AI, it's not like, oh man, that's awesome. You're just like, okay, who gives a shit? That's 2 seconds. Well, that's the feeling. Baseline.
Yeah.
That's the baseline. Like, nobody's impressed by that. And like, clients aren't going to be impressed by that either. They're going to be like, okay, cool, I could do that. Like, who gives a shit? And so they're going to demand more. And so instead of you being, somebody who like, oh, so my normal job was I made, a video of, these commercials, and I spent, 3 months on a commercial. It's on one commercial, 1 30-second commercial. It's like, okay, you're actually going to make 1 30-second commercial in like 4 days. And then in 3 months, you're going to make like 100 40-second commercials. And so you're not going to work less. You're just going to do more. And so it's sort of like, that's how I look at the like kind of like things. I think, to me, it actually seems unethical to act like only the people who own the data should have AI.
Interesting.
Because we don't own any data. Do you own any data? I don't own any fucking data.
Yeah, how could you...
Like, you know who does own data? Giant corporations. So should they be the only people who get to use this technology?
Well, if you make something, say, I guess, let's get even further into it. I saw that Photoshop says that everything you use in their software they own. Isn't that a recent thing? Again, I don't know if this is little talky girlfriend going, but wrong, but I heard something that happened recently.
They kind of did a little thing, sort of like, it seems like you're trying to own every single thing.
Adobe, come on, easy. But what I'm saying is, I'm trying to distill this down. So you go in your computer, which you buy with your own money, and you identify it as being your possession, which I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then you go and create something with your action. So through space and time, you're moving around, and your actions then display into some form of art, I guess. I guess that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay. And then, so if that goes there, then that data is run through a program. And do you own that data? I guess. At that point, you own it, right?
What do you mean, do you own that data?
So let's say you save a Photoshop file. You write something on there, and it's your actions in
You're
life.
saying a Photoshop file or a JPEG or something?
Anything really, any kind of action
yeah,
that you've done,
yeah.
you've changed the ones and zeros, and so that's when you own the data, right? Okay, so when somebody goes and a digital artist or just an artist in general, they go off and make something using a program, and then they save it or they mint it to the blockchain. They own that, right? Technically.
I mean, you're saying if you own the copyright of the image?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
If you
guess
own the
so.
copyright of the image, you own the copyright.
But then when you work for a corporation, like you're saying, amass unspaced things,
You don't own that.
no, and I understand that, and if I get down to it, I think that corporations they're a superpower, both good and bad. They bring a lot of people together to do a certain task, which is powerful, but then when that task is not really in favor of what you want, and this is where the ethics, I think, get pretty interesting. But I agree. I mean, I don't look at those things when they're regenerating the Star Wars or Pixar or whatever it might be, and I don't go like, oh, poor Disney, or I don't give a fuck, because I know it's a corporation and I don't give a fuck. But if it's an individual artist that I follow, say Simon Salenhag or something, or even you, somebody's using AI to train it on there, and they're using all your images without you saying, that's an interesting conundrum, I'd say. If they were using it for certain things, and this is when it gets all gray, is like, well, are you using it for profit? How many times have you, and I can admit to it, look at another artist, ape their style to understand it, and then put that into your style?
And that's the thing.
What the fuck?
Think it comes. I think minimally the thing that we need to sort of recognize when people are like, "This is illegal." It's like I don't think it is, because this is just not something we all saw coming, and it is a new use case. Then sort of like training something was not part of copyright. Like you can't.
Do you think
train
it should be though? Do you think it should be like an individual? Like
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a complicated
It's
one.
very tough, because it's like, can you own a style?
Yeah, that's really
You
tough.
can own an image, but then can you own like a type of technique of drawing that it's sort of like, well, this is, I use wide brush strokes and little set of dashes and blah blah blah, and now nobody can do that.
Yeah, I do see that as a problem potentially, but
Like, what are you talking about? That's where when it's like, oh, it's trained on somebody's style. It's like, you're trained on my style and you're trained on Simon's style. And what does that even mean? Like, now you can't do things that are like science fiction, but sort of like pop culture-y. Nobody can do that now because I own that. What are you talking about? And like so many of the things that people are sort of like, well, it copied my style. It's like, guy, I hate to break it to you. Your style is not as original as you think. It's tiny variation of somebody else's style, of somebody else's style, of somebody else's style, of somebody else's style.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, well, this is how I draw, like, anime, or this is how I draw characters, and it's like, okay, dude, your shit is like, could probably pick like 5 people where it's like, they kind of did something pretty similar. Are you copying them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think people have this idea that what they make is so insanely original and new that it's like nobody can copy my thing, and it's like I just don't think that is a valid like argument, because
nothing's owned.
Not because nothing's owned, because everybody's style, if you're like you know, abstracting it out to a certain style or technique, and then you're saying I own that and nobody can do it. It's so broad.
Yeah. And so
Like it's so
subjective.
like it's
It
so
also
broad.
doesn't
Like,
do well
who
to
is
the
that
community.
person? Like who would you say is somebody who has a style and technique that's so recognizable and quantifiable that it's like they should have that, and then what are the bounds of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody where it's like, okay, you know, there's people who have instantly recognizable styles, something in the style of Picasso. It's like, okay,
Well, you had a lot of different styles, so he's kind
he
of
had a
could be
lot of
that.
different styles, but like, okay, you look at something, you're like, well, that looks like a Picasso style. But what does that mean then? What are the boundaries on that that would be like, well,
Yeah.
he owns that.
Didn't
That's his thing.
didn't this
You
happen with
can't do
Pharrell
that.
recently? Didn't this happen
What's
with
up?
Pharrell, the music producer? Didn't he have some sort of like this is the conundrum that he ran into his lawsuit with like he had made a song and it was too close to his style and then he got sued for it, but it wasn't even.
There's people like there's been things like that.
That's
But even
crazy.
that, it's like
Yeah.
you weren't saying it was like it sounds like a person.
Yeah.
It's got to be exactly like a chord progression.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I think
I
this will
think I
go
do remember.
away.
I think it was like Marvin Gaye or something
Yeah,
like that.
there's something. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's this thing I think that's really tricky when art merges to commerce, you have a lot of friction points, and this is one of the main friction points is where people get on their thing and say this is my style and this is mine and I'm keeping this and so on and so forth and it's subtractive because I mean I think every artist in some capacity would be like don't ape my shit, you know, but then it's like well I aped everybody else, you know, and that's what art is. Art is actually a communal. I think when we can transcend that discussion, and I think the real problem potentially is here is that we're still dealing with this mechanism of money and exchange of energy, and it's still very archaic. It reminds me of like how we vote, which is so fucking archaic. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna all like write a name down, and just hope that that data gets represented accurately. We've been shown that this is all fucking lies. And I think the same
We
thing.
going fucking Dominion fucking voting machines here. Here we
Okay,
go.
come on, man.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Fucking show me the emails.
Oh no, not this. Yeah, but you know, it's like, how can this be that accurate? You know, because
No, I don't.
it's a
I think
compound
it's
problem.
yeah. I think it's one of these things where it's like, especially when I see people, it's like, well, it copied me, and it's like, okay, but this thing's trained on billions of images,
Yeah.
and you're just because you type.
What about your
you can
likeness?
type-
What if it
You
takes
can
your likeness and puts you in some porn and you're like, dude, I don't want that. That's happened.
that to me is a completely different, would be a different sort of a different argument because your likeness is like your face is a very I can quantify your face is your face. If it looks exactly like if you take my face
Yeah.
and you say it's me, then it's like, well, that's pretty clear. But if you were sort of like, I want to make it so that you can't take any white male who's got glasses and hair kind of like this, and like you can't make anybody like who looks like that. It's like, well, okay, that you're kind of carving out a pretty big fence here, guy. I don't. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Like
I can
that
totally
to
see
me
your
is the
point.
difference.
Yeah.
Like when you're sort of like, well, this is my style. It's like, okay, well, that's you again. You've carved out a big fence around your like 3 JPEGs.
Yeah. That also doesn't help the community of artists in general. I think art thrives when commerce and communications open. And I think culture thrives when it's like that. You go to a place that just doesn't have a lot of culture, and by that I mean diversity, and you just feel it. But then you go to a place that doesn't have a lot of diversity and you feel it a lot. Japan doesn't have a ton of diversity, but they got a fucking bright culture. They got a lot of culture there, and this is our own culture, you know? But you go to some random little town that just has a certain type of gene pool, and you're like, well, there's a Pizza Hut and a Taco Bell. That's culture, but it might not be the culture I'm super interested in. But not to say, not to be a dick, but yeah, it totally was a dick.
I think, yeah,
It's
I think
interesting.
our idea of what you can own and what is like
Or sell. That's another thing too.
or sell, like,
Yeah.
I think is, I don't know. I think it will be interesting to see how this stuff sort of evolves, but I'm generally of the thought that I would like to see us all throw our hat into the collective ring of humanity in terms of this AI, and then all benefit from the thing. And maybe
Mm.
that's very naive.
Mm.
Maybe it is like that. It's sort
Well,
of
that's how
like
it'll really go. That's how it'll real move. If you're like, hey, you have full access to my life, my everything, and you can go for it. That's
I definitely think that's what it will be,
well, you would
100%.
have to commit
Because
to
I
it.
think,
Yeah, you would have to.
yeah, but that's the thing again.
It's like,
People act like that, where it's like, oh, I never let it fucking
well,
see blah blah blah. It's like, guy,
that
what do you think? Every time you go on the internet, all of your shit's being tracked,
yeah,
and
of
like all the
course, it's
shit,
just
like it,
archaic. But yeah,
like
that's what I was gonna say. I was like a person that avoids and doesn't use the internet. Well, we're talking about the next leap. The person that used the next internet, which is this GPT stuff, or this next compound part of being a human, which is living in this ultra saturated, hard to tell what's going on world, which is the digital abstract world. Because I feel like what's happening now is you have your physical world, you're located on the earth, you have your family, you have your leg that you're touching, your penis that you're scratching. Wait, stop scratching it, dude. It's the 10th time. I'm not going to tell you again. Anyways, I have to do it. It's Mike and I. We got to be silly. But you have then you have your digital world, which is this whole abstraction that exists in this thing called the cloud, and it's just like it also has value in a way. Think about the cancel culture and how like militant that was, and how weird that was, and how weird it still is. And it's like that has a real impact. The internet, the abstract world, has a real impact on your physical reality world, which is really interesting too. And I
oh
don't know,
yeah, I
it's
think they're
fascinating.
definitely getting sort of like more and more merged, and I think that will only sort of like continue over time. Is that, I mean, yeah, things that happen on the internet, it's all like, that's internet shit, burp, burp, burp. And it's like, internet shit kind of caught up with you.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, it's coming. It's
Like,
landed right in your lap. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think, yeah, that's only going to continue more and more.
Well, I can only speak to my own personal experience, and so, and I don't know if this is the GPT thing or if it's Midjourney or and all these kind of things, but this is my own life experience. For about 10 to 15 years, I had a straight fucking career where I was just busy. Emails were coming in, calls. I was saying no to so many things, and I couldn't fill the capacity of people that wanted my time to facilitate that. And this last year has probably cut back about 80, 90%. And I've never seen that, and it shocked me because I was like, oh fuck, I took that for granted. I thought, keep producing good work, you put it out there, this is the formula of success, and it worked. But something weird has happened that I don't know what's happening. And if it's happening to me, which I think I would consider myself more on the season side of things, having gone through many cycles.
Dude, that's everybody, 100%. It's not, it's
Totally.
not just like AI stuff, though.
That's what yeah,
It's,
it's like
I think there's three
post-COVID
things.
stuff, or what is the three things you think it is? Because it's
I
tricky.
think there's three things. Like, again, I
Willy
many
Wonka's
people, dude,
chocolate bars.
everybody's like, dude, everybody's fucking like, it's not, market's brutal right now. It's
Yeah,
brutal. And I think the three things are: one, the actor strike, that like,
that's true.
put a. Actually, I think there's four things. There's the actor strike that put many projects on hold. Two, all of the streaming companies kind of. Wait a second.
We could just go somewhere else with this.
I don't think this math works. I don't think we can spend $2 million per episode, and like that like, wait a second, we're not actually making any money. And like that's where all the actors were like, "Oh, you fuckers!" And Netflix, blah blah blah. And Netflix was like, "Wait, guys, we're not making money. You realize that? Like, we're spending an insane amount per episode, and like green lighting fucking everything, and like there's 16 bazillion amazing shows out there right now that you don't even have nobody has time to watch, and like, and you know, it costs you like 7 cents a fucking month. Like, it's like that math doesn't actually check out at all. And so all of these streaming companies realized this arms race for content was not sustainable, and so like all of those budgets went way fucking down. That it's sort of like, yeah, we cannot greenlight all this shit. Your budget is like, you know, 25% of what it was per episode, because it's like, we just can't, like, it doesn't work out. We're not making money. The subscribers and, like, you know, all these stocks went down or whatever. I think that's number 2. Number 3, all of the tech companies that were employing a shit ton of people, and they were just throwing fucking money. All of those, they were never laying people off. Then they started being like, wait a second. I don't think some of these people are actually super necessary, and they started laying people off. And so you saw massive layoffs at Google, massive layoffs at Facebook, massive layoffs at you know, obviously Twitter, literally 80% of the fucking company buy, you know, and so
that was the Elon, when Elon took it over, right, too.
And so it was sort of like these tech companies that were spending just, I mean, ungodly amounts of money. Oh, an internal fucking PowerPoint presentation for blah 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 team. Yeah, sure, okay, budget's $40,000. It's like, what? And now it's just like, yeah, I don't even think we need that presentation at all. All you guys are fired. Like, it's like, and so
it's an overcorrection, basically correction.
They basically, like, they realized that there was a lot of bloat in these tech companies, and that they had become giant bureaucracies, and that they could do roughly the same thing with less people. And so they cut budgets. And then I think the fourth thing is AI. And I think that piece of it is, I mean, for a lot of things, it's sort of, and that's the piece of it that I don't think has been fully sort of like priced in yet. Because I think it's, I mean, the Volvo commercial, that for a second will be enough. That it will be like, okay, yeah, this is actually fine. And I think it's going to take people a second to realign their expectations with these new tools. To be like, wait, okay, what could we do that's more now? Like, this is the baseline now, but what could we do more? And like right now, they're just like, sweet, we got the thing done, and we got it done way cheaper and way easier. But like, again, very quickly, people are going to be like, well, that's not impressive to me. Just like you and I look at an amazing, you know, Mid-Journey image that would have been like, holy shit, this is like fucking epic work. This is amazing work. And you look at it and you're like, eh.
Yeah.
I guess that's cool.
Yeah. We've done that. I've showed you
It's
some
like,
stuff.
it doesn't move the needle for you at all. You're just going to like, cool.
Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so your expectations went up because you know what's possible now. You know, the baseline is like, oh, you type in any bullshit and you get something fucking amazing. That's 0. What can you do above that to fucking impress me? You know what I mean?
Even
and
that
so,
commercial didn't impress me, though. That's how I'm like worried. I mean, it impressed me that it got
it did
done.
Impress you, but because I think you understand this stuff, and you understand, like, if you're a mid-level marketing person who makes commercials for Volvo, you looked at that and you're like, done.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, you're just sort of like, sweet, we can go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
That's, I think, the difference.
I guess I mean, if I think about this further, I think that it's all going to come down, it's going to distill down to ideas and intention, which it should have always been. And I think we got distracted for a very long time. And I think this is a reminder. I think so. I think
it will. I gotta bounce in 10 minutes here, but I think it's going to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to. I think this could. I could see a scenario where this ushers in a like golden age of like TV and media and movies and shit like that, because you look at like so much of Avengers 17 and fucking,
It's
you know,
yeah.
Call of Duty.
That's what AI feels like to me. It feels like one of those different disenfranchised, lazy remakes of things. It just feels like that. I'm unimpressed. I just
But
don't.
that's what. But
Yeah.
here's
That's
the
the
thing.
baseline you're saying, though. That's the baseline.
No, no, no. I think that's what we have now. We have a
That's what
Avengers
that
7.
stuff feels like to me, though. It feels like it might as well just been an amalgamation of a Mid-Journey movie. Yeah.
Because you haven't seen interesting stuff that's a new use case of it. But I think what you will do is, I think what it will allow is, it will allow that person to make a Call of Duty level game with like 4 people in like 6 months that maybe has this super weird concept where you're like, oh wow, that's crazy. Or this movie where it's like, well, that would have been really expensive to do before, so you couldn't do it.
That's what I
And so
mean.
like they don't take chances. Like the thing that's why you have Avengers 17 is because they don't want to take a chance.
Yeah.
Because it costs money. We're not going to spend $200 million and then it fucking flops. No, no, no. Just do the thing that we know works.
Sure.
Do fucking the sequel. Do 4, 5, 6, 7, blah blah blah. And so they can't take chances. Versus if you bring down the cost of this shit, then you can take chances, and then it's sort of like, well, then let's start fucking.
That's the golden age you're talking about.
Weird shit.
Yeah.
Let's start doing some weird shit,
Yeah.
and now we can fucking do it because it's like it spurs like a fucking explosion of creativity because people now are unbound by these like
Paywalls. Yeah.
well, they're unbound by, okay, this is going to be a fucking $50 million to try it. No,
Yeah,
that's a big risk. I don't want that.
You know that about myself, my own career. It's just like how many times I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I'm not going to be the person that lives in LA and is sycophantic with people to do that thing. I don't want to have that career. I'm not that person. I'm not a politician, but I have a lot of weird shit in my head and I want to get it out. So and that's what you've told me too. And you've given me that perspective. And I've always appreciated because you're one of my key friends that I know that you very much consider what's happening in the now, but you like to project a lot. And I think that's really cool. And I like to hear your perspective on this because it really helps me personally because a lot of times I go fear forwards and I'm not proud to say that. And I don't like that, but it's my first thing. I'm like, I don't, like you said, I'm going to think like that a lot more. Is this human more or human less? And I don't want to think human less as much. I want to think human more because I want to go beyond and I want to do these things that are great and express myself and be able to live a life of creative, acts and stuff. And I don't have that burden and weight like you think about, which is like, how can I change the ideas of humanity? I don't care about that. I mean, it would be cool, but I just want to like tickle myself and like and get people jacked on it, I guess, and maybe in that act of not being that person, maybe it will do it. I don't know, but it's so chaotic and hard to really think about that too. And I don't know. Anyways, it's a tangential thought, but I really do appreciate your perspective on it. And it's like, I'm going to think about it a lot because I think as I've mentioned, it's like, it's easy for me to be fear forwards and I'd much rather not because I think it would be great. But at the end of it, the spiritual thing that I think about is like, what's enough and how many of these things is going to be so saturating that it doesn't move you at all. You become numb. And where are you then? And that's a real worry. Because like you said, I could see the most beautiful thing. Or if I go traveling and I see that, I remember I was in the Louvre and how many baby Jesuses do I have to see before I'm like, I'm done with the baby Jesus stuff. But the whole place is filled with the baby Jesus and Jesus Christ stuff. And it's crazy,
I think, I mean, that, yeah, I think at the end of the day, you could say, I mean, look at the saturation that we live in now when it's like, well, it's going to be super saturated in the future. I mean, again, look at the saturation that we live in now compared to when we grew up.
Yeah.
When we grew up,
Crazy.
it's like there's fucking,
MTV.
30 channels.
Yeah.
No fucking internet.
Yeah.
You want to fucking read a book, drive down to the fucking library, go buy a book. Oh, I've got a question. How to fucking what did we ask ChatGPT today? Something about, oh, how long ago, how there was thundering out, and it was like, how long, when you hear thunder and you see the lightning, blah blah blah, time thing or whatever.
Mm.
It's, that would have been like, okay, kids, let's get into the fucking car, go down to the library, fucking Dewey Decimal System. Okay, fucking 6 hours later. Oh, okay, yeah. For every 5 seconds, it's 1 mile.
Mm.
It's like, you know what I mean? Like the saturation of information and everything now is just already ridiculous compared to when we were kids. And so it's sort of like, but do you feel like right now life is like less than when we were kids in any way? Like,
I'm a
it
40-year-old
doesn't
guy. It's totally different than then. Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it doesn't feel like it's like less than.
No, it's way more. I would say way more.
I think it's way more.
On
Like
both
think
sides.
about. I think it's way more like if you are able to moderate the just fucking, which again is easier said than done, and I think will get even harder because we're all already fucking addicted to our phones. Moderate the information and just modern life. I mean, so many things like just travel. Travel is just it's way cheaper than it was
Yeah.
like when we were kids.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it was
crazy.
like, I mean, ridiculously cheaper
Yeah.
and more possible. And so
And super good to
being
the human soul to travel too. It's
so
super good.
so like
Essential.
uh, you know uh, not just the cost of it, but also you just drop into a new place and it's just like Google Maps. Okay, let's go over here. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go over here. Oh, Uber, call me if I could. I mean, like
Yeah.
your ability to navigate a new situation. Oh, okay, I can't talk to this person. Okay, Google Translate. Blah, 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 like, I mean, your ability to experience other cultures and stuff is just ridiculously more capable. And so I think there's so many things that are better, and it's just it's not to me a better or worse. It's just going to be different, and it's like
Mm.
there's going to be some things that are like, whoa, this is way better, and there's going to be some things where it's like, no, yeah, I mean we're all kind of addicted to our phones now. I'm like, probably not super great. I don't know, you know what I mean? And so it's like it's good and bad, and so I think AI is just going to be another fucking put the fucking accelerator in the fucking.
Yeah, it's definitely kicked it into
Oh,
fast,
weird.
the highest gear. That's for sure. That's what it feels like. Yeah, the weird and different is key because the future is unknown. It's unknown, and that's the truth of it. It's unknown, but it is weird. Yeah, and it is. I'm just hoping for everybody that's out there creating and somewhat feels like lost to this. I think maintaining an objective, open mind to it is really key, and it's very hard to do. And trying not to be fear forwards, but I really love the more human, more. I think that's the way to do it. It's approach. That's how you're going to evolve and not be forgotten. I think. Yeah. Love you, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Dude,
you.
thank you for fucking talking. Always a super, super fucking pleasure and honor, and definitely appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we can meet up at some here. You going to Basel again this year?
I think yeah, or no, which, is that in London?
No, in Miami.
In Miami? Oh, maybe. Yeah. You want to go?
We'll probably go this year.
Okay. Well, no, me and G Monk will share bunk beds this time. Yeah. No, I would love to see you. If I don't make it to that, I'm sure I'll make it to something. So yeah. Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Have a great
Go on,
night.
We'll talk soon, buddy.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.